Alrighty, so we're going to get started on tonight's work. For this week, what we're going to be doing is continuing on the current Revolve vessel project. Most of you are well underway and that sort of thing, varying degrees, perfectly fine. But I also want to discuss some other methods that are involved with and can be used for a similar project. Then afterwards, we're going to do some lecture on, or do a bit of lecturing on, since these are more complex forms, they're not overly, but we're starting to get into that. As we start being able to 3D print these, I want to discuss using supports and building up supports, making use of them, and then how that also relates to orienting your object within a slicer program, because how you orient the object will most certainly help or I won't necessarily say hinder, but can cause difficulties in your printing process. So we'll get to that. But for now, I want to go over just what we're doing as far as with the Revolve project. So let me change over the screen. Back to old Fusion. Flip floppity bloop. There we are. All right. So I'm going to open up the example we were before. We already put colors on. We already put appearances on. We had time to cut holes in, and we also were able to put a foot, all this sort of thing on. I'm going to hide the tray for now and just discuss for right now this vessel. So works perfectly well, and as far as requirements for the assignment, it's fulfilled. It's created using a profile. Let me snap back here. And of course, these sketches are all hidden. Oh, move the history slider and you won't see everything. All right. Hide the bodies because you don't want to get caught. I mean, what? I want to do that. All right, so it's created using a sketch profile, then making use of the Revolve tool. It then spins that profile around and creates, of course, my vessel. And then we discussed a couple of different methods for cutting holes in and making repeating patterns of, or rather duplicating the same features. Either cutting all the holes and then adding features, or cutting one hole, adding features, and then using the circle pattern again to create multiples of that same completed feature. So different stuff. So tonight what I want to go over is a couple of options, both in adding things to the surface or completely different method of using the same series of tools and stacking those on top, or rather stacking on top of those some more advanced methods. Both essentially using the tools we've already been using, which is the Sketch, as well as the Extrude and circle pattern tools. So first, what I want to show you is there's some methods you can do, and this also goes for if you wanted to like add things on top, like surface features, details, text. Now, one of the issues is there is a feature within Fusion, is the Emboss tool, which is being able to apply either sketches or text through Sketch and be able to wrap that around a rounded object or really any kind of curved surface. The problem is the tool is extremely limited in how it can work on rounded surfaces. On a basic form, something like a cylinder or sphere, very effective. Something, even though this form here is rounded and fairly simple, sometimes it fails. So we're going to experiment with that, and then I'm going to show you what methods around that. So with this, and again, this doesn't necessarily relate to the direct project, but this is expanding on what we're doing and showing you how to add features to this. So where you would start, of course, would be, let's first activate the form I'm going to be working on, which is the vessel. So let's go to that, and I can hide the tray entirely. So with either the emboss or this other method, you would, like normal, start with a sketch, because you got to develop what you're actually going to do. And it doesn't really matter what direction I'm working on, be it front or right. I'm just going to stick with front because that's where we've been working already. And again, if you have difficulty grabbing the origin plane inside of an object, remember you can temporarily hide that object. Just click cycle to hide bodies. Select there. Now you'll be working on that. Unhide the bodies just so you know where you're working. All right. So with this, I'll be working here. From that, let's just create text. That's simple enough. Create a text box across there. And then let me move my little thing here. And then, of course, we have the, let's go with plant-based pun, because why can't you? Hello, you very much. Because if you can't make a plant-based pun, really, what are you doing in your life? Or puns in general. There you go. Hooray. Make it bold, a little bit larger. You can, of course, cycle around all your different fonts. I will warn you, different fonts, like we discussed before, can cause some issues. So, like, that just expands it. Especially your much more involved fonts, things like Gothic fonts and things like that with further insets can cause issues, but shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be a problem in this case. Select OK. We're finished that. We'll finish the sketch. All right. Now, I'm going to try using the Emboss tool. You select Emboss, select Profile, Sketch Profiles. Got my text. Faces would be on the outside. And in this case, see, that's the problem here. It's not even letting me select that for some reason. I genuinely don't know why it doesn't want to do that. That's kind of what I was afraid of. All right, well, you got another option here. Sometimes what you have to do, instead of sketching directly on the inside, you actually have to have your sketch floating further out, because it essentially projects that sketch onto the surface. So if you're inside, that can cause problems. So let's do just that. What that involves is a construction plane. So you look across the top of the bar here, and to construction plane, offset. This just creates a different plane away from your original sets of XY, XZ, and YZ planes. And with offset, you're just projecting off of one of those. So we'll select the one we were already working from. And we'll just move that outside of the body somewhere. Sure, -90, why not? Okay. And onto that, what I want to do is I want to, well, in this case, I'm just going to copy and paste over that. Problem is with copying and pasting sketches, you actually have to start one sketch and then go back and copy from the previous one. You actually have to have an active sketch before you can drop one on. I don't know why, it's just how it works. So I'm going to start this sketch on that offset plane, and I'm just going to leave it alone. Because now I'm going to go back to the sketch I just made, which was before the creating the construction plane. Good Lord, I can't think, or I can't say it. Now I can copy your command copy, control copy, finish sketch, go to the other one, edit sketch, and now I have copy and pasted it directly on. So it works if you already have another sketch. You can't just start one. Okay, cool. That's all I wanted. And I'll hide that original one. Let's see if this works now. All right. Go to Emboss, select my sketch, select my faces, still doesn't let me. What a pain. So let me just throw a cylinder on so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So unfortunately, even though this is a fairly simple form, fairly simple surface, it just doesn't want to let me work. So I'm going to hide the body for now, and I'm going to just select off of that original plane, start in the center, and I'll just go out to, sure, 75, and then make a cylinder. So we'll say 120. That goes up to the original size. I have bodies hidden, and that's why it's doing that. All right. So now that I have just a basic straight form there, I can now should be able to use Emboss, text, faces, does let me select, calculates, there we go. So that's how that should work. And unfortunately, that's sometimes one of the strange limitations that Fusion won't let you do. Now, a workaround for this is, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but just kind of dabbling on some things. So in order to achieve something like this on the form, I had a couple people ask about this. So let's hide this test body. Text, or let's just say Emboss test for that. Name it. All right, hide that body. bring back the vessel, bring back my sketch. There we are. All right. So what I can do is I'm going to have to start, I'm going to have to go back into this sketch here, which is that one. Why is it not highlighting? Should be that one. Edit sketch. Strange. Nope, it's not the one that I wanted to work on. There we are. Okay. So bring up my sketch here. What I can do is there's another option within your sketch features is, yeah, we played with circular pattern. This is super helpful. But with this is project and include. We've kind of dabbled with this before. If you want to essentially borrow the outline or something like that of an object, so that way you're making sure to make use of it. We played a little bit with this on the basic extrude or sketch and extrude first project. But with this, what I want to do, instead of borrowing a line from an existing body and bringing it to a sketch plane, I want to take my sketch plane and throw it against a surface, a body like this. In other words, project that text, in this case, sketch, onto the surface here. So I'm going to use this tool here, project to surface. So select there. I've got my faces. It does let me select these faces. There we are. Curves. Oh, right. Dang it. Apologies. I forget that it forces you to start yet another sketch. All right, fine. So we'll use that same construction plane. This is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy sometimes. I have to use a construction plane again away from, because it forces you to create a second sketch. I was hoping it wouldn't let me. Normally it does, but I was hoping it wouldn't let me or force me to. All right, fine. We've got another one. Dang it. Same deal. Create, project, project to surface. Okay. Faces, that one. Curves, the previous sketch. Now it's not letting me select that. What is going on with this? No, not the line. What the heck? Okay, that's a new one. I've never had this happen before. Okay, awesome. For whatever reason, it is not allowing me to select that sketch. Great, sure, fine, why not? Make me look like a chump. All right, well, I apologize. I don't know what's going on. I just ran through this last night, and I don't know why it's not letting me. I think Fusion has been a little bit buggy lately. I know that I was having selection issues last week with this vessel, so I don't know. All right, so let's work a different way. The other method is using the Extrude tool, and I just wanted to show you a way that would let you actually put stuff directly on the surface. So the other way is a little bit more awkward in that we can use the Extrude tool, of course. Select here, select your sketch, select your, in this case, text. And then problem is if I go, even if I use like select to object, it's going to extrude all the way out, straight through and through. Obviously not what we're trying to go for. Well, I can drop that instead of starting at the projection or at the original plane. Remember, we can select to object, select there, and then as I drag outward, it's going to actually drag that away from the surface. Oh. Okay. It looks like they actually solved exactly that problem. All right, cool. Well, that's new. Hey. I went through the more complicated method because I knew this doesn't normally work, or this specifically did not work. All right, well, new to me apparently is they finally actually fixed the extruding away from a surface, because in the past, extrude functions as a singular flat plane working off of that plane, even if you start it on a curved surface. Apparently now, they have fixed it to where it will now extrude relative to the curved surface. So this does in fact become a workaround for Emboss, which should function directly off of this. So what I've done here is I selected my text, start rather than the profile plane, which is where it normally starts from. We're starting at object and selected this object, the outer face. And then as I extrude outward, it actually conforms to the surface. Now, it's only going to go in one direction. So let's shrink that back so it's not quite so massive. There we are. So it does still only go in one direction. As you can see, if I look from straight up, all of the letters are going directly straight out. They are not curving inward, outward, or anything like that. It is straight out. But it's a really convenient way of adding stuff. When the Emboss tool fails, this allows you to work that way. So I'll stick with the join tool, click OK. My text or my sketches should disappear. And if they don't, fine, we'll make them disappear. All right, come on, there you go. Hooray for plant puns. All right. Well, the cool thing about using the extrude tool and such is what I was going to circle around to is you can use the extrude tool. And what I wanted to also show is the other option we've not gotten into. So let's turn to a different direction. First, let me save here. Text extruded. Great. So let's turn a different direction. What if you want to just make like a doodle or something? All right. So let's sketch on this side. And before I start there, I am going to, well, we'll start on that. We'll start on the center plane. That's fine. All right. So from this side here, let's just draw something. Fit point spline, and we'll start somewhere up here, doodle around, make a big wobbly curve. Hooray. All right. Use the offset tool, select that curve, and I'll move it away a little bit. Sure, let's say -5. And let's say something bigger, 8. Cool. And we'll connect those two with, we'll do what we did before. Use a 2-point circle tool. 2-point circle. Connect, connect. And same up here. Connect, connect. That might run a little large, but that's all right. It'll still get the point across. Let's trim off the excess of the circles just so we have those rounded ends. Super duper. All right. Finish sketch. That sketch did get a little bit large. Let's move it down a little bit. Double click on the whole thing. It'll select everything. Use the move tool, press M, or actually go up here and select move copy. And let's just drag it down a little bit just so it's not quite at the rim there. Okay. So what I wanted to show you here is the other option on extrude. Select extrude. So far, under operation, we've used new body, join, and cut. In this case, what I want to do is use intersection. What intersection does is it cuts away everything except what the sketch, pardon me, outlines. But in this case, it will keep that curve profile. So let's select there, and we'll just go one direction for now. I'll go outwards, and what it does is it chops out just that section. Kind of useless in this case, but this can be used to create multiple things. So let's just say, click OK. Great. Now, yes, I just deleted my whole project. This is merely for discussion points. Let me hide those sketches so we can hide what I'm doing here. All right. So I've got this oddball shape. Now, go back, create pattern, and I can still use the circle pattern tool, but instead of using it to duplicate holes in a body, I can use that to duplicate a chunk of a body, like so, revolve around that axis. And right now it's just making 3, but let's start adding more. More. And I can create an entire vessel made out of segments of the thing I was using. Neato. Now, of course, your bodies are going to go crazy right there. But if I had gone through, let's go ahead and edit this first feature instead of this. That works great. Yep, vessels to cut. Great. And the problem with the intersect, it doesn't let you keep the original object. But that's all right, because I can just use the original sketch and build off of that. So let me cycle down here, find my original profile sketch. And if I had wanted to do something like this, what I can do, let's see here, straight out. And this would be the part to where I can use parts of this sketch and then revolve those and join them with this new doodadery I got going here. So rather than having to go back and alter this original sketch, yes, make another sketch. Okay. So to duplicate again what we had done before, I could have copy and pasted that sketch, but in this case, I don't want to go through those steps. So I'm just going to use the project tool, which again, create, project, which is it just borrows silhouettes from a previous body or sketch and brings them to the current. Or you can just press P, like it says here. Whoop, and I want to borrow all of these little fiddly bits. Make sure I get the top also. Alrighty, select OK. Now, because I can hide that previous sketch, it's now the current one here. So we're good. I've got that whole thing here. Something's going on here. It did not. I didn't select the intermediate thing there. So just make sure to grab that. Now, these are purple because they are not sketched on this current sketch. They are projected lines. Drop down. There we go. It just needed that part. Now, the reason I did any of this was simply because I didn't want to upset the original sketch. But what I do need to do is figure out where I'm going to connect stuff. So I need to add in some dividing lines on here. So let's say, looks like right about, yeah, there looks good. So zoom in here. I'll go, just go up a little bit, make sure I am, that ought to work. Straight across, and now all I'm doing here is I'm just simply creating a dividing line. Now, a problem here is it's wanting to snap in weird spots. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set my sketch angle to 0, so it quits trying to grab other things. There we are. Now, I'm not sure. Okay, good. Even though it's selected up there, I was trying to make sure that it wasn't actually selecting like a surface or anything. There we are. Now I'll do the same for up here. Repeat line, zoom in, just want to put it like somewhere like about there. These lines, I don't need to trim up or anything like that. All I'm doing is this is just allowing me to section off. Let me hide the bodies here. So instead of being able to select all of that, now I just have a dividing line where I could just select just chunks of my sketch. Okay. Zoom out. Unhide bodies again. I got my crazy series going here. Now, go back to use Revolve tool. My profile, select up there. And I'll do it in one fell swoop, so select all of these. Okie dokie. Select axis, Z. Nope, I don't want to cut. I want to join. So it's calculating. Freezing. There we go. All right. So now, using my original sketch profile and a chunk of my original revolved vessel body that was then duplicated around, I can create a open frame body with a whole bunch of stuff. So that is now, because they're all touching, it's going to join, and we're back into one vessel body. So I just wanted to show y'all some oddball stuff you can do with this. You save. Oops. Intersect revolve vessel. Neat. Now, obviously, doing it this way means that I have now lost the text and all that stuff. But if I just go back in my history slider, all right, now I got my original one back, and we're all good. So if I had wanted to, meaning that, oh, you know what, I really like where this is, what we were talking about, components and pulling objects out, I could take where it is now, vessel, new component, and from there, we're all good. Select OK. All right, now I have created a nested component within the vessel component. So all that did is just made one more, span down. It consists solely of that one body. So now, yes. Go back to current point in time. Oh, looks like it didn't. It didn't keep my thing there. That's all right. I can just redo it. But that just means that now I have this separate vessel there. And then if I want to go back and change that up around, I just go back and repeat the revolve, and I can join all that stuff together. Convenient tool. Let me hide that. Problem is, with nested vessels, things get real confusing. So I ended up with that ring there. I just have to repeat all those steps. That's all. So neat options. Oh, I want to repeat that stuff. There we go. I just lost my intersect. That's all right. So if you want to duplicate that, you do sometimes also have to copy and paste instead. So that's all right. So we'll do that. So let me just go ahead. So let me leave it at current. That'll be okay. Or better yet, you know what? I decide I really don't like what just happened. Don't forget that you can go back and go back to where it was 2 minutes ago and open it, that other iteration before you save that one. See if it goes scrambly. Yeah, it's not going to let me. Got to wait for you to start a new version before you can jump back to the older one. There we go. So if I decide, you know what, I actually really liked what I was doing there, you can either step back, open that version, or step back, open that version. And you can either save it, keep working, save it, make a new one, all that kind of stuff. So just different ways you can also save different iterations. All right, so the main thing I wanted to be able to show y'all is just how to create text or details on top and work from there. All right, so I know that was a whole bunch of scrambly stuff, but I wanted to be able to show you just some options to be able to work with and being able to work with some of the same project or some of the same tools we've been using and find a way to expand on that. So those are just some basic additions. Like I said, this Revolve Vessel project is intended to be a basic project. Main thing consisting of 2 main components. Let me reactivate the entire project here. 2 main components, a vessel and a tray with drainage holes. Now, currently, the reason it's showing green and this gray is because it's also trying to show the other 2 iterations I had created. But if I hide those, it just goes back. They're just overlapping 2 objects occupying the same space. And yeah, I got a bunch of warnings down here now. That's because it I just have to repeat some of the sections to go back to the intersect tool, the intersect, extrude, and all that such. Anyhow, you can also use the same to just cut holes in the side of the inside if you want to make this something like a vented pot, orchid pot, something like that. All right. So ultimately, use the same tools, play around with especially the extrude tool and different methods, and especially the circle pattern tool. It's very powerful. You just have to play around with different ways of creating stuff. All right.